Chris Sewall here, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, in that order. Welcome, everyone. Today I wanted to discuss 3 trends in the ultra-modern sports card world that I've sort of noticed recently. Really want to focus on just the first one I'm going to talk about, as that's the one that is particularly interesting to me, and I'll be honest, I'm not really sure I understand it, so I want to analyze it a bit and get any feedback that I can from all of you in the comments. And then 2 others that I just sort of noticed and thought were worth mentioning, but maybe not worthy of their own videos. But yeah, going to go over 3 recent trends in the hobby in this video here. All right, so the first of the 3 trends I want to talk about and spend the most time on is ultra-modern grading. And for those who don't know, grading has gotten more and more popular. People are submitting more and more cards for grading. It's been years where that's the case now. This chart shows how many cards have been submitted to PSA each month over the last 2.5 years or so, and all the grading companies show a similar shape to their growth. And you can see just a very, very clear, steady upwards trend. It's roughly double today what it was in March of 2021 or so. And I believe August of 2023 set the all-time mark for the most number of cards submitted to the grading companies in a single month. I took this screenshot on September 26th, so the bar on the far right is not finished yet, but it appears that it will be right in line with this, long-term upwards movement that we were clearly seeing and continue to see. Here, how many cards were submitted to each of the 4 companies in the month of August. Just up arrows all over the place, especially long-term. The video is not about this, but just a quick side note, PSA continues to get about 80% of all cards submitted, just a massive market share. But the aspect of this that I want to focus on here is that, I don't really understand how or why this is. It's actually very confusing to me. I'm a full-time dealer. I deal sports cards for a living. I submit a lot of cards in for grading. I've used all 4 companies. I use PSA the most, but I've used all 4 companies. And I've just found over the years it's become, there's become fewer and fewer cards that it makes sense to get graded from a financial standpoint. Certainly I'm sending in a lot fewer cards today than I did a year ago, and way fewer than I did 2 years ago. 2 years ago it made financial sense to just send everything in. Today it doesn't make a lot of sense to send in a lot of stuff, and especially ultra modern. And when you're talking about PSA received 1 million cards this month, or hundreds of thousands, and you have these sort of numbers, it's really ultra modern that's probably causing that. People send in a lot of ultra modern cards. And the ultra-modern market has dropped so much, especially in graded cards, that it strikes me as that it just doesn't make sense to submit ultra-modern cards, unless it's a key card anymore. But we're not seeing that. We're seeing cards, the number of cards submitted go up and up and up. Here are a few sort of extreme examples to highlight, what I'm getting at here. Here's 8 recent sales of Scotty Barnes rookies in PSA holders. Now, Scotty Barnes is a young star in the league. He was Rookie of the Year a couple of years ago. These are all Rookie Year cards from 2021. They're all graded by PSA. I think they're all PSA 9s, maybe not all 9s, but a lot of 9s in here. It's Prizm rookie, major brand. Look at the sale prices of these cards. $1, $2, $1.25, $1.25 for his Prizm rookie and a PSA 9. You obviously wouldn't submit any of these cards to PSA for grading at this point. If you wanted the card graded, you should just buy the card graded. You save yourself a lot of time and money doing it that way. Not just picking on PSA. Here's Beckett. These are 8 recent sales of Joe Burrow rookies, all graded a Gem Mint 9.5 from Beckett. So very strong grades of Joe Burrow, major young superstar in the sport. These are all Rookie Year cards, so they're relevant in that manner. Look at the sale prices: $5, $10, $11, $15. These prices don't even cover the grading fees. So if you own this card, it makes no sense to send it in to Beckett for grading whatsoever. How about a baseball example with SGC? Here's 8 recent sales of Julio Rodriguez. These are all Rookie Year cards from 2022. Julio Rodriguez, obviously a young up-and-coming superstar in the sport. All are graded by SGC in strong grades. You got some Gem Mint 10s in there, 9.5, 9, and look at the prices: $1, $1, $1, $2, $3. SGC costs $15 to grade a card. So why would anyone ever submit these cards to SGC or any of the companies? SGC is cheaper than PSA and Beckett. So I'm struggling to see, given how many of these cards exist and how this is such a large percentage of cards that get submitted, why are we not seeing the number of cards graded come down? In fact, it's still going up. As I mentioned, for me, I'm finding myself submitting fewer and fewer cards just because financially it makes less and less sense as we go along, given the state of the ultra-modern market. And to be fair, a lot of the examples I just showed are sort of extreme examples, but there's just tons and tons of more more standard examples, or we'll say on the fringe examples, where this is just one I came up with here. 2019 Hoops Premium Stock Kevin Durant silver laser prism. It's graded PSA Gem Mint 10. You can see this card just sold for $26. Now, given that PSA fees are $19, from a financial standpoint, it makes 0 sense to send this to PSA. If you luckily get a 10, you're basically breaking even when you factor in all the fees and stuff, maybe making a couple bucks. But if you get a 9, you're going to be down big. This card probably sells for $8 to $10, and a 9, again, the fee is $19 to get it graded. So it just financially, it makes no sense. Obviously, even as a collector, if you wanted this card in a PSA 10, it would just make sense to just go ahead and buy it here for $26, as opposed to submit your own, wait 3 months, pay $19 plus shipping both ways and insurance, and hopefully get a 10. Whereas 2 years ago, this kind of card might have sold for $100 in a PSA 10 and $40 in a PSA 9. And so therefore, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But now a lot of the cards on this level have come way down, and it just no longer makes sense to send them to PSA or any of the grading companies. So that's just what I was thinking about. And the truth is, I don't really have a good explanation or, a good understanding as to why this is. And if anybody thinks they have a good understanding, please leave it in the comments. But, it might be something like, well, people are really submitting ultra modern stuff. Like the product came out last week and people are opening product and submitting in bulk, and the stuff sells pretty well out of the gate. And it takes a few months before these, PSA 9 superstar rookies drop to $1, $2, $3, $5, BGS 9.5s of major rookies selling for $10. Right out of the gate, they actually sell well when the product is fresh, and later it doesn't. It might be that, or partly that, or a big part of it's that. But, if anyone has a good explanation for why, to me, there are fewer and fewer and fewer cards each month that it makes sense to grade financially. Meanwhile, the hobby is grading more and more cards. I would love to hear any theories on it. All right, the second trend is not breaking news by any means. It's something I'm well aware of, and probably most of you are as well. But I just noticed recently how extreme it had gotten, and just sort of wanted to talk about it a bit here. It's very much in line with what I just showed you with the Julio Rodriguez and Scotty Barnes and Joe Burrow rookies selling for just a few dollars. But the same can be said for Prizms. And, if a couple years ago Prizms just blew up, and any superstar in a silver Prizm would be worth, good money. Today, I recently had to fill an order where I just had to add to a lot about 20 cards that were, current superstars like silver Prizm. So, they could be the cheap ones, but, I needed a couple Bradys, a couple LeBrons, and a couple Trae Youngs, a couple Joe Burrows, etc. I just needed to buy some of those and add it to a lot for a customer. And when I was going to buy them, I was thinking, okay, maybe I'll need to spend $5 a card or something like that. But as I was buying them, no, look at this. Trae Young here, 2020 Panini Select Silver Prizm. You can buy this for 48 cents on COMC. Here's another Trae Young, 45 cents for a Prizm, red, white, and blue Prizm. Anthony Edwards, you can get for a buck. That's second year green Prizm. Football is a little less hit a little less hard than basketball, but here's Josh Allen, major star, $3 for a mosaic green Prizm. Mike Trout, obviously, baseball's not licensed, so it's not as exciting, but still, Mike Trout, optic holo Prizm here, $1.30. You can go on COMC and buy this for $1.30. Here's some LeBron Prizms that have sold recently, and I don't mean like the base Prizms. These are all Prizm parallels that have sold for $1, $2. This is LeBron James. Patrick Mahomes, same thing. $1, $2. Lots of them out there. You can, it's just gotten so watered down at this point. Mike Trout's here, $1, $2. These are the biggest stars in the sports, and you can get their Prizm parallels for a couple bucks. A couple years ago, that was not the case at all. There was no LeBron silver Prizm that you could buy 2 years ago for $3. That would be unheard of back then. And people always ask me, do you think like ultra modern is going to go down in value because there's so much of it out there and there's so many parallels and it's so watered down and all this? And I think it already has. Look at this. Patrick Mahomes silver Prizm selling for $1 in auction. All right, and the last one's maybe not really a trend. It's more of like a story, but I guess it's sort of a trend as well. But for those who don't know, Travis Kelce just recently started dating Taylor Swift, and I have a sort of a story around that. In February of this year, right before the Chiefs were about to play in the Super Bowl, I was sort of researching this card here. It's a 2013 Topps Chrome Refractor Travis Kelce rookie, and I just kind of thought it was undervalued. Like, he's potentially the greatest, tight end of all time, or at least he's sort of tracking to be that. And he was about to play in his second Super Bowl. He was sort of the the Chiefs' biggest star after Patrick Mahomes, of course. This is really sort of his best rookie that isn't like an autograph, Topps Chrome, it's a refractor. This was before they were mass producing refractors. It's still a fairly, it's not super rare card, but it's not super common either. I just sort of thought it was undervalued, and I thought there was a good chance that it would sort of jump if they won the Super Bowl and he had a big game. And even if he didn't, I thought this was a solid long-term investment card. It's a key rookie of someone clearly trending to be an all-time great. So I bought a few of them, including 2 on COMC. I bought a raw copy for $64 and a PSA 9 for $102. These were both on February 3rd of this year. And my plan was just to leave them on the site, price them higher, and hope that they win the Super Bowl. There's a spike in his prices, and both of the cards sell at a nice profit. More or less a quick flip, which is not something I do much of, but in this case, I thought there was an opportunity there. So they did win the Super Bowl, which should have been good for my plan, but they didn't sell. Kelce cards really didn't see much of a spike after the Super Bowl, and I decided to just leave them on the site for sale and just wait it out. Wasn't in a hurry on these. They sat in my store for sale for a number of months until last week when they finally both sold on the same day around the news that he was now dating Taylor Swift. The PSA 9 sold for $115 after fees. I was just up a few dollars. And the raw copy sold for $135 after fees. I basically doubled my money there, but again, that's after about 8 months. Anyway, all this is just to say I found it very funny or interesting or noteworthy regarding trends that, Travis Kelce winning his second Super Bowl was not enough to make his card value spike, whereas the news that he is now dating Taylor Swift was. That's, I don't know what to make of it, but that is definitely something that happened. And I was curious after seeing these 2 sales, if what the card was priced at this point. There were no copies of the card raw available on COMC anymore. There were some PSA 9s, all from the same seller, but the lowest price was $195. Remember, I just sold mine for $115 a few days ago. But that's it for 3 trends in the hobby. Hope you found it interesting or insightful or worthy of recognition within the Jedi archives. But appreciate everyone watching, and see you again next time. Thanks, everyone.